My name is Kristin Goss. I'm an associate professor of public policy and political science at Duke University. And I wrote a book called The Paradox of Gender Equality, in which I tracked over about a 125-year period the evolution of U.S. Women's organizations. And in particular, I looked at how the issues that they cared about and that they were active on changed over that period of time. And in that book, what I found was really surprising, which is that women's engagement in public policy debates, which I measured by appearances at hearings before Congress, rose really steadily and quickly after women got the right to vote in 1920 and continued to rise through the mid-century. Some early histories of that period told us that after women got the right to vote, they just went home and declared victory and didn't even really use the franchise very much. And what I found instead was that actually women got really organized and they started working on a whole bunch of different issues, not only women's rights issues, but issues of foreign policy, of child welfare, maternal welfare, and so forth. And this continued through the mid-century. So when the common view is that middle-class white women were home baking cookies, actually they were up at the House lobbying for the UN and funding and things like that. But then something really strange happened, which is that women's collective engagement, women's associational engagement in national policy debates started to drop. There was a little bit of resurgence in the 1970s with the women's movement, but then there was just this dramatic plunge through the 1980s and 1990s. So my book really looks at why did this happen, and there are a bunch of different explanations. But I think more to the point, and what's really exciting is, in retrospect, I think this book was capturing kind of the tail end of one women's movement and the beginning of a new one. We followed up that book with a new project looking at how millennial women in their 20s and early 30s, who are diverse by race and highly educated, highly politically engaged, and feminist in their orientation, are thinking about engaging as women around public policy. And what we found is that these women are ready to pick up a lot of causes, not just quote-unquote women's rights causes, but all sorts of causes that affect women. And but they're not quite sure how to plug in, how to engage. So they think they're part of a women's movement, but when they're asked to describe what the movement looks like, they struggle with that. So the big idea that I would urge funders and nonprofits to think about is how to create a pipeline for young women who are in high school or in college and are active around women's causes in those institutions, create a pipeline that allows them to take that energy out into the world once they graduate, whether it's from high school or college or both.